Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. I am here with James McDowall, venture capitalist, ICO, STO, crypto, and blockchain advisor. James, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, James, what I'd like to start with is a background on you, your story, your transition from professional sports into finance and technology. How did that come about?
Okay, so I have quite a diverse background. My passion as a kid, growing up was golf. And all I did was play golf. I went to school, I went to college, but my real passion was golf. And it got to a point where I thought, I want to turn this into a career, So I kept doing that. I turned pro. I started at 15 and I turned pro at 19. And after that, I focused more down the coaching route. So I built up I was working for myself in the UK and had about 500 clients, successful coaching business. But I realized I was just trading time for money. And I turned my passion into a job where it was just trading time for money. And I thought, where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years' time? I had a couple of good clients that were wealth managers. I formed a partnership with St. James's Place, which they're the UK's leading wealth management firm, I believe. And I helped them put events on and referred my clients to them, my high net worth clients who needed a wealth manager. And so I got very, very engrossed in, investing, allocating capital to generate a return. And I thought, compared to what I'm doing now, that this is, there must be another way. You've got to make your money work for you. And I was reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and learning about making your money work for you. And so I then moved to Switzerland, where I'm based now, as a golf pro. But I quickly formed another partnership with Angel Mountain Global Wealth and was kind of doing both. And I was investing, the money that I earned from giving golf tuition, I was investing that rather than having it sat in the bank generating nothing. I started to invest. And then I came across this whole new asset class, which is cryptocurrencies and the whole Bitcoin thing. Now, at first I was very, very skeptical. But after doing more and more reading, I kind of had my light bulb moment and thought, wow, this is huge. A whole new financial system with no third parties, with no kind of rent-seeking intermediaries. And so I started allocating some capital into Bitcoin. This is a couple of years ago now, into things like Ethereum. And then I started to learn about the whole space, the whole ecosystem, everything that was being developed, all the companies that were popping up, all the problems they were trying to solve. And it did get to the point where, yes, it was rife with, there was a lot of rubbish out there. But I did pretty good. I invested in the right things at the right times. I got in and got out at the right times, taught myself to trade as well because it's extremely volatile. And I thought, you have to use this volatility. You get guys that just buy and hold, and if you can trade, then you can really make that volatility work for you. And so leading on from that, because I'd researched the entire ecosystem so extensively, that this is kind of my step back from golf period because I got so engrossed with this stuff. I became really, really knowledgeable about the whole space, and I built a really strong network. I traveled. I did over 6 figures in air miles in less than a year, and I went to so many conferences, got to know all the leaders in the space, and I thought, if I want to be a leader in this kind of industry, I have to get to know all these guys and get to know what they're doing. And that naturally led on to advisory roles. So some of the companies I'd invested in, I kind of saw weaknesses and I saw things they could be doing better. And so I told them. And they said, okay, great. They took the feedback on board. They said, you know what you're talking about. Why don't you come on board as an official advisor? So the first company I did that was Sentinel. And also I'm advising Redpen. Also Polybird, which is an exchange. And I'm also working with a company called Spirit Blockchain here in Switzerland. And a really new exciting deal that I've just signed with Comdex. So lots and lots of different things going on. I can talk you through some of those if you'd like.
Sure. I know that you've got a time constraint. We can talk about those or at this point. But what I wanted to also get out of the conversation with you is your goals. Where are you driving your company now with what you're doing?
Okay. So my goal really is to, I want to be a full-on kind of VC, venture capitalist, invest in startups, help them scale, using my strong global network, and just keep reinvesting, but not just being a speculator or a passive investor. I want to be very selective with the companies I work with, and I believe that I can help them tremendously in scaling and growth and strategic thinking. And so that's what I specialize in, partnerships and just kind of getting them out there, connecting them with the right people at the right times.
Let's talk about the market sectors that you're going to specialize in.
The market sectors, well, I guess at the moment I'm under the kind of big umbrella of blockchain. Sentinel is in cybersecurity, Redpen is in media, Spirit is acting as a proxy that bridges the gap between investors, institutional investors more specifically, and this blockchain wave. Polybird is an exchange which is going to specialize in security tokens. So as securities are tokenized more and more, bonds, equity, debt, this can all be tokenized and stuck on a platform. To lower the barriers to entry and increase liquidity. And then what have I missed? Comdex is probably the thing I'm most excited about right now. Comdex is short for Commodities Decentralized Exchange. Now, traditionally, right now, international commodity trade is quite old-fashioned. So there's lots of kind of old school networks, lots of emails, lots of phone calls. There isn't actually a platform, believe it or not, that matches buyers and sellers for international commodities trading. The other big trouble with that industry is the amount of time it takes to settle the international remittances.
Right. So
if I've just bought a load of, a load of steel from China and I'm in, let's say, Dubai, I've got to send that money over there. And using typical banking infrastructure, this takes, 2 to 3 days. Now, what Comdex is going to do is it's going to settle these remittances in seconds. So the money can go from A to B. Comdex will have an office at each port where it deals, and it will use a stable coin, 100% backed by the US dollar to start with, but it will be fully audited and everything. And so the buyer can send, local currency to the Comdex office, and Comdex can send the money over to the receiving port office, and it will be cleared instantly, almost instantly.
Now, let me stop you right there. I've been trading commodities since 1980, and I've done some international business myself. One of the other issues that has to happen is the currency discrepancies, whether it's pound, dollars, franc, dollar, what have you. Is that part of the formula, or is it all come out in the wash because it's a security token that you're making a transaction in, and that's the standard for what the value is on the exchange of the commodity.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a very good question, a very relevant question, and I'd have to speak to the team and get more clarification on that. But I assume, at the moment that the US dollar is kind of the world currency, and that's the way that that's the default at the moment.
Okay, so let's say that you're buying steel from China,
Yeah.
and you want it, and the buyer is in, say, Michigan for his plant. This exchange of value is going to be based on the U.S. dollar, and the people in China are responsible for working out what the conversion rate is relative to their currency value on the contract. Is that what I'm hearing? Or is it some other form of standardization?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one just yet,
Okay.
but I can certainly ask the question for you. I guess there will be a protocol in place. There will be a set procedure. I'm not 100% clear on that yet because it's still quite early days. But I'm sure there will be these things all taken into account. I can find out for sure.
Okay, all right. And I suspect that the clearing of these contracts, which is what they're going to end up, you're going to have standardized contracts,
Yeah.
I would think, or is it going to be,
Yeah.
is it standardized contracts or completely disruptive where the value is based on the order, not on a standardized contract that like futures are currently traded now?
Yeah, but this will be actually the physical commodities,
Right.
so that including the shipping and everything.
Yes.
And the other thing with this new system is that the documents and the shipping can be on the blockchain. Okay, so it will reduce things like plagiarism or fraud in the documents, and there's also going to be a kind of built-in trust or reputation system in there. So you can find buyers and sellers with a good reputation. If they sent on eBay, you get like a rating. Mm-hmm. So it's like this marketplace that matches buyers and sellers, but for international commodities trading, which I think to start with, I think it might be tough to get them to switch over. You probably know better than me, but I think the game changer is how fast that the remittances are going to be settled. That's the real disruption there.
Okay, so it seems to me that the regulation and to standardize it and police it is going to be within the platform, because it's going to be outside of the purview of the National Futures Association or the Securities Exchange Commission or FINRA. Is that right?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check this.
I would love to delve into this more, because
for sure.
you are definitely onto something with this.
This is very, very new for me.
Yeah.
I just signed the deal the other day to come on board. Mm-hmm. Maybe I've already told you too much. This is a very, very new concept. The first office is going to be in Singapore. Okay. And they are more than up to speed with the questions that you're asking, the legal stuff and the regulatory things. Everything will be above board, regulated. Right. It's not futures. It's for buyers and sellers, the physical commodities.
It's more like a cash market.
Like a.
It's an off-exchange transaction that tends to be more like a cash market, with blockchain keeping the transactions from buyer and seller until it's finished, and having the money exchanged through this platform. Am I connecting the dots correctly on that?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. But then when you mention futures and things like that, we're not. This isn't for people trading. This isn't for people trading with price on charts, futures and CFDs. Nothing to do with that. It's actually the buyers and the sellers of these physical commodities. So a huge steel factory somewhere they want to ship steel to wherever.
It's
a
B2B platform.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, you and I got a lot more talking to do. There's you mentioned several, 4 other companies. We haven't even had a chance to talk to them.
I keep myself very, very busy. Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's come back and we'll talk to you about each one of these companies one at a time, or I'll interview them on the show because
I'd love to bring the show. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
you just happen to bump into somebody that kind of knows this side of the business. And you've really intrigued me, and I think that you're onto something with this Comdex because you're right. The futures industry hasn't changed in, maybe 200 years when it comes to how to transact business for commercial ventures to move money. Before it's been truly disruptive because they've been outside doing cash deals, and there's no way for one company to know how the transaction path has occurred with another company until they experiment and get to do it by themselves and either lose or have a satisfied transaction. I mean,
sure.
So I think
and it's that speed. Time is money. In this day and age, time is money. If you've if you're selling something and you've got the money faster, it's going to save on fees. It's going to save on late fees. Sometimes the banks there can be a delay. Let's say
they are a delay.
Yeah,
can be. They are a delay.
Yeah, but then there can be another issue, and there can be further delays, and then the buyer can get a penalty and stuff like this. So. Yeah, it's going to solve a lot of problems by the sounds of it, and it's a $17 trillion a year industry. So there's a lot of room there to modernize it and update it with this technology.
Absolutely, James. I know. Are you broadcasting from Switzerland today?
I'm in Switzerland right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting a little late there. I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. I want to have further conversations with you, and definitely, by all means, I definitely want to start with this Comdex company and see if we can delve into that.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to get them on the call with you, and you can ask those questions for sure.
Absolutely, I will. James, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I know you've got to run, but thank you for taking the time out of your day to come onto the show and talk to us.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Thanks for following with us. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.